All right. Well, I think we're missing one student today. He emailed in sick. So it's a relatively small class. We're meeting in a lab. Um, Even though there aren't too many 8 o'clock classes, we still are short on classrooms. So
Hmm.
uh, I see one of our other faculty members forgot that there was another class in here. He left some of his stuff out, but that's all right. As long as we're not afraid of spiders, we got a bunch of plastic containers full of spiders.
Oh gosh.
I don't think they're gonna go anywhere though. So I'll wait here for make sure everybody's here, and then I'll introduce you to everyone. Okay.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
So just to let you know, the students do have 5 questions that they're supposed to answer about Nature Conservancy, and
Hmm.
um, just things like where do you go to apply for jobs? What do you like the best about your job, and what do you like the least, and what's your typical day look like? So
Awesome.
I assume you're probably going to talk about different kinds of jobs with the Nature Conservancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's after 8, but let's see. I think we're still short. One, two, three, four, five. I think we're still short 1 or 2 people here. So
Okay.
let's see if I can see everybody here. Okay, I think we're about ready to begin. Let me close the door though. The janitor's out and vacuuming out in the hallway. So, all right, I think we're ready to begin. So, today we have the privilege of talking with Regan Ware, who is working with the Nature Conservancy, and I'll let her tell you all about that organization. I believe it's a private nonprofit organization. They manage a lot of lands all over the United States. And see, I got a message here that's wow. There we go. So I'll let Reagan go ahead and then talk to us. And we really appreciate that you took the time to meet with us. So, Reagan, I'll let you go ahead.
Thanks for having me. So as you said, I work for the Nature Conservancy. I'm the Range Management Fellow in the Prairie Coteau office, and we are based out of Clear Lake, South Dakota. So TNC is a nonprofit organization. We work in all 50 states and over 35 countries. We focus a lot on science-based management, and we mostly work on our own lands. Right now, we are uh, the tri-state chapter, so Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. So we are the only three-state chapter. South Dakota has 4 programs, Minnesota has 9 programs, and North Dakota has 1 program. So our offices in South Dakota, the Prairie Coteau office that I'm based out of, we go from Jeffers, Minnesota to Vermilion, South Dakota. We have 3 different preserves around Deuel County where we're based out of. We focus a lot on grazing projects and restorations. We do a lot of invasive species management, brush control, prescribed fire. There's also the Samuel H. Ordway Jr. Memorial Preserve Office. That is a bison ranch, and they use a lot of biocontrols for invasives. They have a very active burn program, and they're active in research. They actually work with the university in their management and research projects. They're right in the middle of the prairie pothole region, so they're a really big habitat for birds, different game birds. And then there's also the Western South Dakota office. They do riparian repair and beaver work. They work with a lot of landowners for doing CRP work. And then we also have the Whitney Preserve office. They work with a lot of biodiversity management and brush encroachment control. It's a really beautiful place out in Hot Springs, South Dakota, right near Custer.
Reagan, excuse me for a second. For
Yes.
some reason, our audio is not working over the speakers in the room. It's just over my computer, and
Okay.
so I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's any way for you to turn up your volume, or let me see if I can do anything from my end here. Audio here. Let me see if I can adjust that. Um, okay, I think I could switch to the speakers in the room here. Let me try that.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and try it again here and see if the speakers are working in the room.
Can you hear me good?
Oh yeah, now we got lots of volume. I have to turn it down now. There. Okay. Let's try that.
Sound better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
So my background, I came from an agriculture background in Virginia, so I did come a long way for this position. I do think that it prepared me pretty well for this job. We do a lot of similar work to what I did at home. I had already had tractor experience, different implements and different hand tools, and that's been really useful to me in this job. I went to LaSalle University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where I got my environmental science degree in 2023. So I am pretty fresh out of college. I was in your place not too long ago. But one thing that I'm really glad that I did is I really utilized my summers before my graduation. So my sophomore year of college, I ended up going out to Montana and did a conservation corps internship with AmeriCorps. And that really got my foot in the door for conservation jobs. It was a really great experience, and I can't say enough good things about AmeriCorps and MCC. Um, those kinds of opportunities are really special and really valuable, so I 100% put that out there. I also wrangled at a dude ranch in Colorado my junior summer in college. That was more of a fun job, but I got the opportunity to present about a lot of environmental topics. I was known as the nature wrangler. Mine was the nature ride. So I got to talk about a lot of the ecosystems out there, the habitat, and the different cool things about the places we were riding through. And then I came to TNC directly after my graduation. I was really actively looking for jobs during my senior year, and I had heard so many amazing things from my professors about the Nature Conservancy. Um, a lot of the things that I heard, just that they have a great name in conservation, they're a super strong organization. And so obviously, like I applied to as many TNC jobs as I could get, especially in range management. While I was out in Montana, I got the opportunity to work with the Forest Service out there, and they were doing rangeland work, and I really fell in love with it there, the grassland management and the different aspects of that. And so that kind of steered me towards this job, and I'm so glad that it did. So the range management brought me to South Dakota and brought me to the Prairie Coteau. So field work, I will tell you, is it is hard work. A lot of the things we do are manual labor. We do prescribed fire, which was one of the coolest things that we get to do. I will say that I really enjoyed that. I just finished my first year of prescribed burns, and I cannot wait for the next burn season. I got the opportunity to drip torch down lines and put wet lines down, suppress. It has really been an awesome experience. I'll go into that a little bit more later. We do a lot of grazing projects in the Prairie Coteau office, so that's a lot of building fence and utilizing cows for management. We manage a lot of weeds. We will use biocontrols, we use mechanical controls, and we also use chemical. Brush and tree removal. I will tell you that last winter, that was my jam. That was what I did every single day, was going out and cutting down trees and applying chemical. It's a really big issue that we're battling right now. We have restoration projects as well, so I got the opportunity to seed a restoration that used to be an agriculture field and return it to native prairie. And so that's a big project. We work a lot with water systems for grazing because if you have cows out there, you have to supply them with water, and you don't always get that in the areas that you want to put cows on. So we work on that a good bit, and we also have a lot of biocontrol projects, especially with leafy spurge. So prescribed fire, it creates a mosaic of habitat for plants and animals. It clears dead trees, old duff. It's great for controlling invasive species and brush encroachment. Uh, it's great for the native prairie plants, activates the seed, makes their seed more viable. I will say that lots of planning goes into burns. There's a hierarchy for great reason. As I said earlier, like I'm just in my first year, so I would know nothing of that. But it definitely depends on weather conditions, your objectives of the burn, and then also the personnel, because you almost always need to bring in people to get a controlled burn down. And we utilize grazing a lot for invasive species control. You don't need as many bodies for grazing as you do fire. So I have gotten very well versed in fencing work, whether that be temporary electric fence. We use that mostly when it needs to be moved fairly often. We have one preserve here in Dole County where we've moved it 4 times this year, just to get good rotation, and really focus our grazing on certain areas, according to our goals and objectives. I have definitely gotten some pretty good shocks from that. And then also barbed wire, we've been constructing and repairing a lot of barbed wire fencing. That's really big in our grazing projects, and also, as I said earlier, the watering systems. And so this is our weed management. We do chemical applications for some invasive species. One thing I have really admired about my boss is that we try to use as little chemical as we can. So we do pull a lot of invasives. We will mechanically, like chopping thistles down with machetes instead of spraying them. He's always been really great about, yeah, maybe this is harder, maybe this might take a little bit longer to control, but it's always a plus if you can avoid using chemical. So a big chunk of my summer this year was chopping thistles with machetes, and if you're having a bad day, nothing will make it better than chopping down a big patch of thistles with machetes. I have to say that I enjoy it pretty well. We also brush cut invasive brush, as I said earlier, and we pull plants like mullein. Common mullein is one of my favorites to pull. We also have parsnip, wild parsnip, that we have been pulling this year. We also have a biocontrol, and so we use leafy spurge beetles in a couple of our preserves. And that's always been a really interesting one to me. You can kind of just sweep them and pour them out where you need them. And one thing that I learned from my superior is that it's not always going to like completely eliminate your problem, but it is a way to kind of passively manage it. And so for summer opportunities, the chapter annually hires around 50 people. In the Prairie Coteau office, we normally hire 1 to 2. You can work from 2 to 9 months in the summer, and we do provide housing, which I can tell you is super, super nice. And that was the way that I was able to come out here so quickly, and providing housing is really great. The pay is very competitive, and the volunteers are always welcome. The housing can be arranged, and TNC provides a lot of training, which is great, and there are also research positions available. And so this is a big one, TNC's impact on me. So I got very lucky with this unique position as a fellow. It was kind of targeted towards new grads, trying to get them ready for the next step. And it has done exactly that. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and I couldn't be more grateful for the program. I every single day I learn something new, and I it's kind of difficult to get that first full-time job, especially straight out of college. And this was just the perfect opportunity for me. It was meant for learning and meant for development. I've gotten so much valuable experience here. The prescribed fire, I never thought I would be burning landscapes. The chainsaw and brush saw work, I'm very comfortable with like almost all the hand tools that we use. Uh, I've gotten to chainsaw down some larger trees, which is really exciting for me. And then I get to just see all of our different management techniques take action. And that has been one of the most rewarding things about my position. We have one prairie in Lockheed Pearl, Minnesota, and it has been one of the most rewarding things to see one of our prairie recovery program tracks absolutely transform after a fire and after a year of our management. Once stuff started coming out of the ground this spring, I was so excited to get out there and see it every time because I was just amazed at how much we had transformed it and how much healthier it had gotten. And it just has always excited me. There's one in Lake Benton, Minnesota, that is the exact same way. It's very, very rewarding work. And I have the opportunity to just work with extremely knowledgeable people. The supervisors that we have in the tri-state chapter, they've all been here for 15 plus years. Everybody has a lot of experience under their belt, and they're just wealths of knowledge. Um, every day, even if I'm not trying to learn something, I 100% will. And we get to do great things. This month, I get to go up to North Dakota to do a bison roundup, and that's a yearly annual thing, and that's always really exciting. And the prescribed burns are also a really unique experience.
Reagan, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more, going a little more in depth into the rationale behind doing controlled burns? What kind of species are you trying to control? How does it work? I mean, how does it eliminate undesirable species or invasive species but not affect the native species?
So our native plants thrive with fire. Meanwhile, like non-natives are, that's a difficult one. That's a higher level than me. I will say that it's great for brush encroachment, and that's a really big battle that we are fighting right now. And so it can take out those species. Our native plants, they kind of thrive with less stuff on the ground. And so prescribed fire gets rid of duff and debris, and our native plants have that soil area to grow. Um,
Does it kind of release the nutrients from the dead plant material?
yes, it's great for carbon cycling.
What kind of trees do you have problems with invading the prairie?
Buckthorn is a really big one. We have willows. They reproduce like crazy. Smooth sumac, dogwoods. Sometimes even like the native snowberry can get out of control and kind of encroach on prairie land, so we control for that as well. Those are some of the species that we work with a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So questions.
I got ahead of myself, I guess.
Um, I did expect just from my me recently being in college, knowing that probably no one was going to ask questions. So I made my own slide of like what I wanted to know when I was going through this whole process. So one of the things that I wanted to know was conservation is so broad, like where do I even start? I was really lost in it. My family were farmers, they weren't really conservation people. And so I was trying to figure that out in college of what road I wanted to go down. And I can tell you that experience is the number one thing. I was very close with my professors and I got this advice early on, so I was really lucky in that way. But if you can get internships and different experiences under your belt during those summers, it will be invaluable to you. When you do graduate and you're looking for that job, you'll already have 3 summers of experience. And then also, it just helped me find what I wanted to do. When I came from Virginia, I didn't know that range management even existed. It never really came up. We don't have range land as much as out here. It's not stressed as much as out here. And that opportunity with the Montana Conservation Corps just completely brought that out of the blue to me and just interested me so much. And that was kind of how I found my passion. So I can tell you that those experiences, like that's how you find what you like. You can't really know that that's for you unless you experience it. Um, Yeah, I would say that internships, volunteering, any of that, like you get your hands dirty in it, and that's a really great way for you to kind of figure out like, is this for me? Um, and then also like another one, I'm not sure if this is what I want to do long term. Should I still apply? Absolutely, 100% yes. Just like I just said, that experience is so meaningful. It is so impactful. Even if it's something that you go out into the field on your first week and you're like, wow, I hate this. At least you won't graduate college and get into a full-time position doing that thing and realize that so late. You can kind of set your targets narrower once you've got that experience, whether it's positive or negative. It's kind of figuring out yourself and what you want to do. And then where can I find job opportunities? Our jobs are posted on nature.org. And so you can navigate that website and find those there. There are also different outdoor jobs listed on different job boards, like the Texas A&M job board is where I found my position. Um, there are lots of boards out there, and I will tell you that your professors are really great banks of knowledge. When I was going into my senior year, I leaned on my professors extremely hard with help. That was something I was really stressed about was finding that long-term position. And so I got close with one of my bio professors and was in his office once a week checking in with what jobs I had applied for, what have I looked at, what am I interested in. Um, but for our TNC positions, you can go to nature.org.
I have a question. You mentioned that you had a fellowship with the Nature Conservancy. Um,
Yes.
is that going to evolve into a different job title or position?
So the fellowship is developed for people like me, for the graduates. And so I am on my fellowship contract until June of next year. And we're working on getting me extended. But there's a lot of mobility within TNC, which is one of the great things about it. I've made really great partnerships. I've got great recommendations, and they like to keep good people around. So I'm sure that I will be staying in the Tri-State chapter.
Do they have any other properties in South Dakota in the works to be developed in a Nature Conservancy property?
I'm not sure if I can say.
Okay.
We do have a like Whitney Preserve is out in Hot Springs, out by Custer. I think that one doesn't have any new additions. Ordway is a great one. We do work with some CRP land and kind of trying to get those, but conversion-wise, we just acquired one in Minnesota, but South Dakota, I'm not sure.
I've been out to that Whitney Preserve before.
Yeah, what'd you think?
That's a beautiful area.
It definitely is. There's a lot of native history there, and so they're definitely embracing that and working with a lot of native tribal councils.
There's still a lot of old fields, though. Um,
Hmm?
there were still a lot of old fields there from
Yeah.
that was used as a farm.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to go out there and work with them for a week, and we did the control of Russian olive all week. And it was the hottest week of the summer, and we were underneath and climbing through trees, girdling them and cutting them down with chainsaws. It was a lot of fun, but it was pretty hard work, I will tell you that.
So what is the main goal of the Nature Conservancy?
Uh, Protecting land, preserving life. I will say it's not the hippy dippy kind of management that I think most people kind of expect from us. We do really hard work out in the field, and objectives and management goals are really decided by the land steward, so my boss. So every preserve is different. I know we have some that do have a really big invasive problem, so we really focus on that for that preserve. Some Our focus is brush management. Some of them are patch burn grazing systems. Our larger preserve, Chippewa Prairie out in Lac qui Parle, we work with the DNR a good bit on patch burn grazing system because that's a fairly healthy prairie. So we can kind of look for that advanced goal setting. But we also have preserves that, have a really bad thistle problem or a really bad bird's foot trefoil problem. And so that always has to be like our first management goal for the time being. We want to promote biodiversity. And so that's kind of like our main big idea goal.
Well, most of the properties donated to Nature Conservancy, like from families that want to preserve the land as it is rather than allowing it to be developed.
Yes, so there's some that are like Ordway Prairie Preserve, that one was. Um, a lot of ours we can purchase at just like base value. And so that's how we've acquired most of our land that I'm aware of. I won't say that I'm the judging factor on that, but from what I'm aware, they're mostly purchases. We are donor funded, however, so
You guys need to ask some questions now.
What's your least enjoyable part about your career?
I'll say that every day is so different that like you never know what to expect when you're walking in the door. So this past week I had a 13-hour day and that was kind of just that's how it is. Field work is so um it's so unpredictable that that can be kind of frustrating sometimes. Like you have plans for things you want to do, but all work ran long today and there can be a lot of different factors in the field, and the field can be kind of harsh. It is genuinely a really tough work. And so the field work aspect of it, I mean, everyone knows like you're out in the heat or you're out in the extreme cold. That can always be something to deal with. And I would say that's really the only thing, and it's not a big grievance.
Do you have much downtime during the year?
So our winters are interesting. It kind of depends on what our roads are looking like. Winter is kind of a great time to go out and burn old brush piles that have been sitting there when snow's on the ground, and I can go out and cut down trees, if we can get to those preserves. So downtime, not really. I'm almost always really busy. I do make a lot of our mapping systems. So that's what I work on a good bit in the winter, mapping for our invasive species and our brush control and things on ArcGIS and field maps. So I definitely have my hands full always.
I've heard from some of the other speakers we've talked to that, being able to have GIS skills is a really good thing to have when you're trying to find a job. Do you have any advice at how students could get that kind of experience, even if it's not offered from their educational institution that they're attending?
Mhm. 100% yes. GIS skills have been invaluable to me. I kind of took that over pretty close to soon after I started. If you don't have a class available to you, that is not the biggest hindrance. This is going to sound a little funny when I say it, but the best way to learn GIS is to go in there and start clicking buttons because every format is kind of different. When I came to TNC, the GIS Pro program that they use looked completely different from the one that I used in college. So what I did learn in college, like, yes, it was useful, but I had to basically relearn it all again. Um, so I kind of go in there and click buttons until I find what I'm looking for. So you can play around with it on your own and kind of figure things out until something works. I've heard a lot of people say the exact same thing is just like GIS is the art of clicking the right buttons and just finding what you're looking for. So I took my GIS class during COVID. So we were online, not in school. It was a really rough, but they are working off of like textbooks. So if you are really into like getting great GIS skills, those are available. They're not super expensive, and you could work through GIS on your own. Um, yeah. Oh, there's also like resources online if you have questions. The GIS help desk can be kind of useful, different forums online. So if you're trying to learn something specific, then you can always search up that kind of stuff.
Yeah, actually, we do have access to online classes that any student can take here, no extra charge for it. It's just part of your regular load, and you can get credit for it. Uh, Called Acadian courses, and I don't know if they
Yeah,
offer anything or not, but there's a lot of schools that are part of that system, so there might be DIS courses available there. Any of
that-
you think that might be useful to you?
that's awesome. And I 100% recommend it for all of you. My GIS skills have 100% been came in such handy and have really been needed for our program.
Do you think just like going in and playing around with Google Earth would that help a little bit in learning how to navigate some of those programs?
I mean, maybe. It's kind of difficult. GIS is just such its own beast. Getting used to the format of what's there, especially like importing, exporting files, was kind of like my big hump of learning it. Uh, I think there is an online version of GIS that you can go and play around with for free. We use that at my university. I did end up downloading the big program, but there is an online version that I got there. And so just playing around with it, importing, exporting files, seeing what GIS is really capable of, um, I would say is probably the best.
Any other questions?
At least one.
I guess we don't have any more questions. So
Well, I'll ask my own. What is your typical day like? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. Um, every day is super different for me. There is no telling what I could be doing the next day, and while it can be kind of stressful, it's also one of my favorite things about the job. I never really get into a rut of like, oh gosh, I have to go to work and do this again, because everything is so different every single day. We get to go to all of our different preserves and do all of these different management stuff. And it's, I couldn't give you a average day because every day's different.
you get many visitors come to this.
It depends on the preserve. Our preserve in Lake Benton is absolutely gorgeous, and there's a big lake town nearby, so we do get a lot of people like walking their dogs or just going for strolls out in the preserve, so I get to see them. But some of them will surprise you. There's a preserve that we have near Appleton, Minnesota, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and I would never expect to have visitors. But I've been stalked there more than anywhere else just to talk about like my job and just what we're doing there. What are the goals for the day? And I always look forward to seeing people out in the field. It's always a really great and pleasant conversation, and I look forward to the visitors. So we do get them sometimes.
Are there any other organizations that do similar things that Nature Conservancy does?
I mean, we
Or where there might be some
actually,
other career possibilities?
yes. When we went to the Grassland Initiative meeting, I found out about so many organizations that I didn't know existed. The Audubon Society has some of the similar like jobs, summer positions. The Sisters is one. There's a lot that I didn't know of, and I just met there at that meeting. I think the more you look, the more you'll find because I've been in this field for a couple years now, and I didn't even know they existed. But there's also government agencies like Game Fish and Parks and Fish and Wildlife and DNR that do similar stuff.
Yeah, I know. I was that's what I was thinking of was the Audubon Society because near where I grew up there was some quite a bit of land in the floodplain of the Columbia River. This is in Oregon,
Hmm.
and large area where an uncle that basically lived down there, literally in a trailer down by the river. And Audubon Society bought it all up and turned into a preserve.
Hmm.
So quite a big area.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Reagan. Well, we still have a little bit of time, but I think really appreciate you take the time to talk with us, and hopefully we can do this again sometime, maybe again next year.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. Let's get Reagan
Thanks.
that hand. Thank you. You did a very nice job.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
You too.